and twisting and acting like Dylan Mulvaney.
Are you insane? Did you watch the Barbie movie? What are you talking about? What?
You're talking
and
about
who
a
are you
movie.
to
I'm talking
talk
about
about
people in
who
real
a
life.
woman is?
And as a woman, I have not lived that lifestyle. So that he looked like a man who was wearing a wig with pigtails. He's not fooling anybody.
Dylan Mulvaney, I don't think is serious whatsoever. You got a gay man who has a lust for fame and fortune, and what does he do? If it's being gay, she's gonna blow!
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and back to another video. So today we're going to be going over one of my favorite TV hosts that I love to watch because he is unapologetically based and is always upsetting the left, and we love that. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Piers Morgan, who interviewed a panel last week regarding the whole Dylan Mulvaney controversy. You know Dylan, right? The biological male who wants to be a girl, not a woman, a girl, and recently did a music video which was, how do I say this?
Trash.
So we're gonna go over this interview. I've heard about it, I have not seen it, so I wanna watch it for myself, blind reaction, because I know it's going to be entertaining, and I know we can laugh and engage together at the craziness that we're about to watch. So without further ado, sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let's get to work.
It's a difficult time to be a woman. There are pay gaps, workplace discrimination, the unrealistic ideals of the beauty industry, fueled by things like Instagram, toxic masculinity, the patriarchy. That's on top of the undoubted stress of raising families, and let's be honest, often being the lone voice of common sense in dysfunctional households across the world. Well, according to my wife, anyway. But fortunately, amid the fray, there are still some inspirational leading women out there fighting the good fight for equality and respect. That is, of course, Dylan Mulvaney, the Google Gemini version of a strong, independent woman. Dylan became a superstar by documenting her gender transition on TikTok. Celebrating...
Excuse me, Piers. Not a woman, a girl.
Get it right.
Dylan is a girl. Even though Dylan is a 20-something-year-old man. A girl.
Such core feminist ideals as cute fashion, frolicking in meadows, and falling in love with boys. This brave ode to 21st century womanhood earned Dylan a visit to the White House and an audience with President Joe Biden. Not to mention a marketing campaign with Bud Light, whose client base of extremely normal men revolted with such force that it cost the company more than $1 billion. Well, Dylan's pivot to pop music is, of course, much more of the same. It's pink, it's trashy, and here's the serious point, it's packed with misogynist tropes.
Shocking.
These are the days, these are the days of girlhood. These are the days, these are the days, these are the days of girlhood.
Really? Many people make the mistake of thinking that all criticism of Dylan Mulvaney is transphobic.
Of course.
That's the refuge of everyone who wants to shut down legitimate debate. But Dylan's interpretation of womanhood is that all girls are lazy, depressed, promiscuous, over-medicated and addicted to shopping. She's made a very lucrative career out of saying all this stuff. Corporate America and the actual President of the United States have decided that we should celebrate it. So we have, I think, a right to maybe raise a quizzical eyebrow. I have a few supplementaries. Does anyone really believe that Dylan Mulvaney is a positive role model? For that matter, does anybody really think Dylan Mulvaney is a beautiful young woman? Is the entire act a joke at our expense? Is Dylan Mulvaney a secret agent of the Trump campaign sent to expose the utter lunacy of this cultural moment? Well, joining me now to debate all that and much more is my pack, the uncensored contributor Esther Kraku, the podcaster comedian James Barr, the host of Outkick's Gains for Girls podcast and ambassador...
I'm sorry, but that guy's face, the liberal, we know he's going to be obnoxious and annoying, but he's also going to be the entertainment of this segment, so thank you, liberal. We appreciate you.
The Independent Women's Forum, Riley Gaines, and the host of the Officer Tatum Show, Brandon Tatum. Well, welcome to all four of you, a super-powered pack, all currently identifying, I believe, as their biological sex, although we can easily confirm that. Riley, great to have you on Uncensored. We'll get to the legal action you have against the NCAA in a moment. But first of all, Dylan Mulvaney, my real problem with this is you've got somebody making an absolute ton of cash.
Yep.
By, it seems to me, mocking women and womanhood.
Yep.
Despite, until mid-20s, identifying as a man, because she was born a biological man.
He.
Well, it doesn't seem to me, as a woman myself, I can tell you that's exactly what Dylan Mulvaney is doing. He's made a killing on mocking women with his stereotypical misogynistic comments. And you hit the nail on the head. This new song, right, reducing women down to picking up medication, being lazy, not being able to get out of bed, shopping and retail therapy, hooking up with men and being sex crazed. Again, as a woman, I have not lived that lifestyle. So that's what this is. It's a mockery of a woman. And let's be real. I think the most ironic part of this is he looks like a man. If you're watching that video, he looked like a man who was wearing a wig with pigtails. He's not fooling anybody.
Brandon, I mean, it's complicated.
Riley did not come to play. Riley did not come to play, and she is spitting facts. Regardless of how you want to refer to Dylan, as a she, as a they, as a whatever, at the end of the day, Dylan is putting themselves out there, right? So you're going to be judged based on what you look like, just like we would judge any artist, right? Dylan Mulvaney is not really selling looking like a woman. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. I didn't see it, and I'm sure many people didn't see it as well. And Riley did not see it as well, a biological woman. And of course, people like the liberal on the panel right now with that face is going to accuse Riley and anybody who says that Dylan looks like a man of being transphobic. But the fact of the matter is, like Pierce said, Dylan did not transition until their mid-20s, mid to late 20s. So you can't expect somebody who has been a man their entire life, at least the first 25 years of their life, to suddenly switch over and be convincingly a woman or a lady. It's really hard. It's a hard sell when you already have a male body and a male looking face and male features, and it just is what it is. It is what it is. But in this day and age that we live in, based on liberal leftist ideology, we have to pretend like what we see is not what we see. We have to play the role, right? For them. Affirm them. And so that means even if you look like Hulk Hogan, we have to pretend that you look like Princess Diana and just go with it.
Brother.
And don't you dare mention the fact that Diana looks like Hogan. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. You transphobe.
I have nothing but respect for people who transition, for transgender people. I want them to have
Oh, the liberal, he's going crazy. He's going crazy.
Stop
hang
hiding
on.
from misgendering, please.
Well, hang on, I'm
So,
going to come to that.
That's clearly not true.
I didn't misgender her.
No, but you would have stopped her from doing that on your program.
Well, okay, we'll come to you in a moment, James. Just wait. But Brandon, there's all these issues, misgendering and so on. What do you make of the wider thing of Dylan Mulvaney, this cultural phenomenon now in America, basically sending up what it means to be a woman?
I think it's absolutely appalling to give credit and credence to a person who's mocking women. Dylan Mulvaney, I don't think is serious whatsoever. You got a gay man who has a lust for fame and fortune, and what does he do? If it's being gay is not working out for you, you become trans and you try to make a lot of money, which is what Dylan Mulvaney has done.
Hello.
Dylan Mulvaney is not an example of women. He's not even trying to be a woman. He walks around with a 5 o'clock shadow and dresses up in women's clothes and mocks women. He's berating women. I have never in my life seen a woman act like Dylan Mulvaney. Not one person on this panel can show me a woman that's as flamboyant and radical and twitching and twisting and acting like Dylan Mulvaney.
Are you insane? Did you watch the Barbie movie? What are you talking about? What,
You're talking about
who
a
are you
movie.
to
I'm talking
talk
about
about
people in
who
real
a
life.
woman is? You're
Real
a man.
life.
This is
Well, who are you?
absolute
Who are
nonsense.
you?
Did he really just compare the Barbie movie with women? Did he just do that? Did the leftist liberal on the panel really just say, have you not seen the Barbie movie? Like, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. This is pure comedy gold. Watching this kid have a meltdown on the panel right now because the two conservatives are speaking truth. Welcome to 2024.
You can talk about
I'm
it.
not telling anyone who a woman is, but I'm certainly not telling someone who isn't a woman.
I've never seen a woman.
Do you think
act like
Dylan
that.
Mulvaney is
Give me an
doing
example.
women a favour with this?
Do you know what? Dylan Mulvaney is speaking to a huge generation of which none of you understand. Like,
What-
you guys are
What?
over...
That is my generation.
Dylan has
I don't know
Sorry,
any
that is my
woman, I've got to say, of
generation.
any age who thinks that anything other than Dylan Mulvaney is taking the piss.
I will
the thing.
say, you've sat here on your show and you've bashed Madonna and Sam Smith
Yeah.
and all of these other icons. So Dylan just
Icons
joins...
to you, they're not to me.
Dylan just
Here's
joins
the thing.
them in the whole of
But the
fame.
central
Icons.
James, is that what she does, and this, I think this video clip is absolutely indicative. She's making...
It's a pop song. Have you not seen a Dua Lipa music video?
To be honest with you, I haven't got the energy to get into the misgendering debate, right? I think the whole personal pronoun thing is a lot of crap.
Yes.
But for the benefit of this conversation, let's move past that. I'll call her she if that's what she wants to be called. But what she is not is a biological woman. Until her mid-20s, she identified as a gay man. And that's the point there that Brandon was making. And for someone who was a gay man to put their hand up and say, I'm now a woman, and by the way, I'm going to make tens
Well,
of
you're
millions...
misunderstanding what...
Hang on. To make tens of millions of dollars mocking women,
What the
which is how many women see it. I think that is
mocking
wrong.
women, or Kylie was mocking women, or Madonna was mocking women just because
Kylie
they're
and Madonna are
expressing their
women.
femininity.
Hello?
It's not okay to say that, and you're misunderstanding.
What an idiot. I'm sorry, this kid is an idiot. There's no other way to put it. Like, bringing up biological women and saying, oh, well, are they mocking women? No, they're being themselves because they're women. They were born biological females. That means they get to be women in their own skin and live their lives because they're women. You can't use actual biological females as an example and compare that with Dylan Mulvaney, a 20-something-year-old gay man who now is a woman since last Friday, and say that those two can be compared to each other, and that if Madonna and Kylie can do it and the Barbie movie can do it, then so can Dylan Mulvaney, a biological male. That's the part that he seems to be missing in this whole argument. And this is the misogyny that is playing out right now, folks. Okay, a biological male telling biological women what womanhood is.
Identity
I'm sorry,
as a woman.
I don't
you
see
are
Dylan
trans.
Mulvaney struggling at all.
Dylan Mulvaney has documented
Dylan Mulvaney
her struggle.
is reveling in mocking womanhood.
No,
Well,
she
actually,
isn't.
the thing is, I don't think Dylan Mulvaney, I don't take offense to what Dylan Mulvaney is doing because it makes sense. In the current media landscape that we live in, it makes sense for this man, it's a man, to become as a flamboyant, effectively caricature of a woman. And I don't take offense to it because I treat Dylan Mulvaney like he is, which is a mentally unwell person.
She is a
he is a mentally unwell person. I don't see him as a woman. He's not a woman. He's a mentally unwell person.
In a case like this, where Dylan Mulvaney's only identified as a woman for what, 2 years?
Hello.
Was a gay man till her mid-20s. I don't think
But do you realise that Dylan...
James, I don't think you have any right to compel women to say that this is...
Thank you.
To realise that you're trans, to understand the complexity. Do you
Sure.
understand the
And how does
complexity
this
of
help
that?
them?
You have trans
How does
friends.
this help
You
trans
know
people?
Do you have
that
any
it's
idea
difficult
how
to find your
difficult it
identity
is
and that people
to be a
accidentally
woman?
jump
Riley has a
across.
very good
We've
response to
discussed
that.
this before.
Hang on, Riley.
Doesn't make you right.
You mentioned you have no idea how difficult it is to identify as trans. Let me ask you, do you have any idea how difficult it is to be a woman in today's climate, and then to be entirely mocked by a man merely posing to be a
That's
woman?
how
Do you
you
have
feel,
any
and that is
difficult
not true.
idea?
That is not Dylan's
Yeah, but
intention.
why- you-
Well,
Dylan
it's not
is
just how I feel.
How
There's
do you
been an
know? Intention is
avalanche.
not to
There has
mock
been an
women. Of
avalanche
course
of
it's
people
not.
on TikTok, on the left and the right, coming out now saying, "Hold on, this
Dylan
is wrong."
is a
And this isn't the first time that
beautiful
Dylan Mulvaney
human
has
being.
been under fire.
Here's the thing.
His first days of girlhood. He
I'm
came
not
out
gonna have a
after day
conversation with you. Keep
365 or whatever
misgendering
day
her.
it was.
You can't compel people to do that.
Yes,
you
I
can't.
can, because
No, you
it's-
can't. You can call
It's
Dylan Mulvaney.
discrimination.
You can call Dylan
It's
Mulvaney
discrimination,
whatever
Piers.
you want.
Discrimination.
Of all
And listen,
people,
Riley, I do sympathise with you
You know
about
what?
how
No,
difficult
let
it is
me
to
tell
be
you
a woman.
Riley Gaines has had to
You know
compete
what?
against
Riley, I
biological
want to listen
males.
to how difficult it is to be a woman because I want to...
No, you don't. No, you don't.
As a gay man, I'm also a victim of the patriarchy. We all bloody are. Like, it's
Look, we don't need to
bloody
do the
awful.
identity
I've seen the
politics.
Barbie movie.
You are
Let me tell you
part of the
something.
patriarchy.
You
What are
mentioned
talking-
He's the victim of the patriarchy.
you mentioned discrimination.
You being a
You
woman...
mentioned discrimination.
Let Riley
Let me
speak.
tell you
Stop
something.
talking over the
Do you
woman.
I haven't
believe
finished my
that it's
point. No one's
okay?
allowing me to finish a point.
What's your point?
Am I
Go
allowed
ahead.
to speak?
Sure.
God, okay, fine, I finished.
What's your point? You haven't got one, have
My
you?
point, no, I
Riley.
have. My point is, Riley, that
Let me
it's-
say something.
I understand how hard it is
Okay,
to be
go
a woman
ahead.
and that you fought so hard to be a woman, and I have so much empathy with that, so I can understand why it is so upsetting when, in your view, someone who isn't a woman comes along and says they are, because it undermines all of the history of what women have been through.
Yes.
But that's not a trans
Well-
woman's fault. That is men's fault. Men are the problem, not Dylan, not trans women.
Oh, men are the problem.
Dylan is a man.
Men are the... Of course, I knew it would come back to us.
That is what the problem is.
Riley?
Are you saying it's not? Are you
Let me
saying
tell
you're
you
not
something.
a victim
You-
of men? Because what are we talking
No,
about?
what
She's
I'm
a
saying
victim
here
of
is what we are
biological
suffering
men.
from is...
That is true.
No, she's
right?
a victim. She's a victim of gay men.
Here, let me take
That's
you
what
back.
this-
Let me
that's
tell
this
you
is
what
about.
So
I'm
gay
a
men are the
victim
victim.
of.
Do you know what? Let's just pick on all the minorities.
Let me-
Let's throw
Dylan
Megan in as
Mulvaney
well.
is
Let's
a
chuck
gay
in
man
Megan.
that's doing this.
He is.
Leah Thomas and all
I am
these other
so
people.
done with this conversation.
Let me tell you. Let
Isn't
me
it
tell
interesting
you
how
what I'm a
James wants
victim
to
of.
control everyone's thoughts?
No, I don't. I
You
just
wanna
want everyone to have a
hang on,
nice, civilized
hang on. You
conversation.
want to control
Piers.
everyone's speech,
Why
and
is
how
no
they
one-
speak and how they refer to people.
Typical leftist.
Their opinions.
Yes,
Only
they are.
You want to mansplain
not-
to women what they should be thinking, and at the same time you want to blame the
I'm
patriarchy.
not. I want everyone to be kind to everyone.
Oh, no, you don't.
That's what. Yes, I
Hold
do.
on, stop right
yes,
there.
I do.
Don't even
It
like
is
me,
not
the
kind.
patriarchy. Want to
It
be
is-
kind to me?
It is not kind to ask a young girl to undress in front of a man. That is not kindness. What kindness
right.
is. And if that's what you believe your definition of kindness is, you have a totally warped perception. And let me tell you, it's not inclusive to ask a girl like myself what happened to me and my teammates. It's not inclusive to ask us to smile and step aside and allow these men onto our podiums. That is not what inclusion.
Preach.
Exclusion. And it's exclusive to the very female athletes or women in general who Title IX in the women's sporting category was passed to protect and to honor and to celebrate and to uphold.
And
so I think
Riley-
we have
Riley,
very
for those
different
who-
definitions of what kindness really is.
Right.
Boom.
I totally agree with you. And Riley, for those who don't know what's going on with the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association in America, you're one of many athletes, female athletes, suing them for their transgender participation policy. Why?
Yeah, so basically the NCAA, their most basic duties are to protect athletes, both male and female, to protect their opportunities, to protect their safety, to protect their privacy in areas of undressing. And bottom line is the NCAA is failing on every account of that.
Yes, they are.
Allowing men to our fields, onto our courts, in the pool with us, in our locker rooms. So that's what this lawsuit is about. That's what we're hoping to change here. So again, myself plus 15 other athletes who have been adversely impacted at the hands of the NCAA are now taking legal action and saying what they are doing explicitly and actively and directly is discriminating against us on the basis of our sex. And so to your point, if we want to talk about discrimination, that's exactly what my teammates and myself and my competitors and girls around the country, again, at the hands of the NCAA, continue to have happen to
Well,
them.
you're also discriminating. But what about lesbians? Are they allowed in your changing rooms?
They're biological women.
No, but you're talking about women.
They're
who-
women.
Yeah, they're
But
women.
you're worried about women seeing
Look,
your body?
I mentioned
Like,
nothing
what's-
about
I can't take this clown seriously. I can't take him seriously. Did he really just say, and are lesbians allowed to be in the changing room? Lord help me. Lesbians, say it with me. Lesbians are biological women. So no, Riley wouldn't care about that in the changing room because lesbians have the same body parts that she has. See, what Riley is talking about as far as the changing room is having to undress in front of a biological male with a wee-wee, which would be Leah Thomas. They were forced to change in the dressing room with this biological male, and those who spoke up were shamed for speaking up. And this is happening across the board on so many college campuses where biological males are allowed to compete with the women because they identify as women, but they still have male body parts. Again, lesbians have female body parts. So there wouldn't be a conflict there because obviously, if we have the same body parts, we are of the same sex, so there's no issue. But asking a woman to be comfortable changing in front of a man who identifies as a woman is ridiculous to me. It's dangerous. It is discriminatory against biological women who are being forced to change in front of biological men. And it is also abusive, in my opinion, to then shame the women who speak up and make them feel as though they are the outsiders. They are discriminating. They are transphobes. No, they're not. They're women who need to be protected. And gay men like this guy is the problem. Brandon is absolutely correct. He's absolutely correct. You want to blame the patriarchy and you want to blame men in general. No, it's gay men like this gay liberal on the panel who wants to okay what's happening to protect the Dylan Mulvaney's and the Leah Thomases of the world at the expense of biological females who are saying, I do not feel comfortable. If a woman tells you she does not feel comfortable, it is your obligation, not just as a man, but as a human being, to step aside and respect what she's saying. But instead, you have these leftist liberal clowns that come on these panels and tell people, especially actual women, how they should feel. Dylan Mulvaney was a mediocre gay man. Let's call it what it was. He was a mediocre gay male, wasn't getting many views, wasn't successful, was middle of the road as far as talent, and then shot up to infamy when Dylan decided to mock women and then realized, ooh, look at all these views I'm getting. I'm onto something. People want to see what I have to say now. Maybe I should go with this. And so they did. A lot of trans folks are just gay people who are not comfortable being gay, who feel more comfortable being the opposite sex than what they were born as, because then that makes them feel as though they can be accepted, because now they look the part of a person who likes the same sex. Sue me, I said it.
I mentioned nothing about, no, what I have a problem with is I don't want to see a naked man's genitalia. I'm married. I have a husband. You think my husband wants me seeing another naked man while he also gets to simultaneously, non-consensually at that, get to see me naked? No way. That goes against my values as a Christian. That goes against my values as a married woman. No way. That's what I have a problem with. It has nothing to do with his sexual orientation.
Do you feel educated?
I feel the opposite. I actually feel myself losing brain cells. I actually thought my brain was going to leak through my nose.
Me too, Esther.
Leah Thomas or Liam Thomas or whatever the name is. Dating history. Look, I don't think... The reason why I don't get as worked up or upset about this is because I recognize society's flaw. They have given mentally unwell people the status of being right. They've given the status of validating their delusions. And in other ways, compelling us to validate those delusions. I'm not offended by Dylan Mulvaney. It doesn't offend me because this is a mentally unwell person. Why should I be offended that this person is trolling? I actually think a lot of conservative stations make the mistake of giving people like Dylan Mulvaney the publicity that he craves. Because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm looking at a mentally well person. That's a lie. I'm not going to do that.
You're gatekeeping womanhood, which is the most manly thing.
One thing though, it's not really about being offended though. It's about commenting on what's happening in society because it's affecting the younger generation. And if we sit and say nothing, then we are contributing to that infliction, right? Because we're sitting here and we're saying, I'm not going to pay attention to it. Okay, that's great that you won't pay attention to it. But as a society, we have to pay attention to it because it is growing. It is metastasizing, okay, like a cancer. And to pretend like it doesn't exist, I think is actually detrimental. Because I've heard that argument on my platform. People will comment and say, oh, but you're giving Dylan the platform. Oh, but you're giving Dylan attention. Well, here's the thing. Dylan has almost 10 million followers on TikTok. Dylan already has the attention. Dylan already has the platform. So we as a society, we have to respond. We have to talk about it. We can't pretend like it's not happening because we don't want to give more attention to what is already an attention-seeking person, because that attention-seeking person already has a very large platform and a very large influence. So yes, we should talk about it because when we stop talking about it, we then normalize it and it becomes a bigger problem. Now, I will say when it comes to Leah Thomas, it is okay to be offended because Esther, I'm assuming, is not a female athlete. So of course, Esther wouldn't personally feel any gripe with a Leah Thomas because in her mind, Leah Thomas is just a man with a mental illness. Now, you can make that argument, but what about the biological women who have to compete against the Leah Thomases of the world? That's why we're talking about this, because they're the ones that are being affected by this directly when biological men are entering female sports and dominating those sports. And if you say something about it, you become the problem. So yes, in that sense, you must speak out because even though I'm not a female athlete, I can empathize with female athletes and say, you know what? I'm going to speak up on their behalf with them because they need people to stand with them right now. Because right now, female athletes are being attacked left, right, and center by this leftist movement, which is leaving them behind so that the Leah Thomases of the world can shine. Literally pushing them to the side on the podium so the Leah Thomases of the world can shine. If you are a true ally of biological females, you gotta speak up.
Anything you could possibly do. So I'm going to say,
you were educated at the expense of the British taxpayer. You were educated at the expense of the British taxpayer, and you don't know the difference between a man and a woman. Are you serious?
You cannot compel people to use
I'm not compelling people,
you
but I want people
use.
to be kind.
I am kind.
I
am lovely.
You're calling her
kind.
mentally unwell.
He is mentally unwell.
That's very unkind.
Excuse me, I'm
Everyone
sorry.
on this panel so far has had zero empathy for any of the people we're discussing.
You had no empathy.
You don't want to hear other people's opinions.
Then Riley has
you don't want to hear
anyone
other
else.
people's opinions.
Yeah, Brandon, coming to you.
Everyone has an opinion. You may not like the opinion, which is
But
fine.
where's
I
the
don't
love?
agree with you.
Where's
it
the love?
doesn't matter.
It's a not lying.
You think love is lying to people and deceiving people. I think love is telling people the truth and being consistent across the board. Dylan Mulvaney is crazy.
Where's the dignity?
Now let me tell you this. Let me tell you this.
Where's the respect?
Let's put this in perspective.
Where's the respect?
Because I think people get caught up in the gender role thing. Just imagine if a person was white and decided to identify as black and did all of these crazy things that
this argument has been had so many times.
listen, that they did stereotypically what black people would do, we would be outraged.
We would.
It would be a sham.
I agree.
We would not accept it. And so we shouldn't do that. What Dylan Mulvaney is doing is wearing women face. The person is not a woman. He's not trying to be a woman. He's impersonating.
Honestly,
negative
I can't
perceptions of a
continue to
woman.
sit here listening to this absolute nonsense. Riley, I want to ask you a question because a lot of this is to do with sport and how you feel it's unfair because you're up against people with
It is unfair.
a bigger body, right? So do you think
With
it's
men.
unfair that someone who's taller than you or has more strength than you can be in the same team? Is that the argument we're making here? Is that what's unfair?
I think it's
Riley?
to do with the chromosomes, but I'll let Riley answer that.
The conclusion you're drawing, let's look at this for what it is. A man, on average, you take any sport, you take track and field, you take swimming. Swimming is the sport I played, let's look at swimming. Across the field consistently, if you look at the world record against the men on the men's side versus the world record on the women's side, consistently that athletic performance gap is 10 to 12%. Someone being a few inches taller than me, it does not make up for that 10 to 12% performance gap. We're talking about by having a man competing against a woman. Of course, there are natural advantages that people possess, but what we're talking about specifically here is beyond comparison to what the conclusion you're drawing right now.
Let's
But the conclusion I'm drawing is that we should just get rid of gender altogether, and we should have sports based on body metrics, because then
You would like to have the Olympic.
Olympics.
Just to be clear, the Olympic Games, you'd have gender neutral.
Yes, I would, because the
don't
only
be so
the
ridiculous.
only reason,
And
Riley,
women-
surely
women
you
would-
agree, the
women
only
would
reason women's
struggle.
sport exists is because men were gatekeeping sport for so long, and then finally said, you know.
Yes, let's make all sports gender neutral. You know what we'll see? We'll see a podium full of men. That's what we'd see. That is misogyny, sir. That is the problem in a nutshell.
Fine, have your own. But really, if we just remove
many biological
gender,
women?
If we remove
Hang
gender
on.
from sports, please let me finish my point, then we won't have this issue. Safety
Oh,
won't be an
so
issue.
I'm
we
sorry.
can make sure that
That is-
everyone
that
has
is
a
ridiculous.
fair chance
That is so
at
Insane.
competing
James,
together.
that is so spectacularly ill-informed and dumb.
Well, is it, Riley?
Wait,
if
are you saying we
if
should?
you have a
are you saying-
gender-neutral
are you-
Olympics, no
I'm
biological
saying,
women
Okay,
no,
okay.
you're
would
missing my
win
point.
a gold
I'm saying-
medal.
Let me just
except
add
in-
a
Ever.
Are
We
you
have
saying that we
lots
should
of
get
people
rid of
competing
men and
against
women's
people
sports
that have similar
altogether?
body types, body metrics, bone index,
That
whatever.
makes no
no
sense. You
understanding
you
of
clearly have
physiology
never played
whatsoever.
sports before.
Are you?
He's never
are
really
you
played
saying that
sports
we should
before.
get rid of sporting categories altogether and have just one
Yeah, he
big
is,
pool?
yeah.
No, I'm saying people should compete against people
Okay,
that have a
okay.
similar body type so that it's fairer.
That makes no sense. You've never played sports before.
It never
So if
has.
you're,
I
if,
think it
if
makes a
we're
lot of sense
talking
because
about
that's what we're
getting
talking
rid,
about.
Every
hold on,
same
hold on.
race at
I've
best.
come up with a
If you're saying that
solution
we
for the
are-
problem that doesn't exist.
No, you haven't.
That's
You just
not a
don't
solution.
understand it.
Well, you don't understand it
there is
either.
no
If you're saying
comparison
that we
between
should
the
get
bone
rid-
density and body mass of males and females. That's why they separate the sexes in sports.
That's not
because
why they separate the
biological
sexes,
males
because
would
they separate them
destroy
because men did not
biological
want women playing
females.
sports.
There's a reason they
Track it
separate
back.
them.
If
Track
you're
it back.
saying that we should get rid of sporting categories altogether, do you support the idea of eliminating the Paralympics versus the Olympics?
I think that's a really great question, and I need to
You can't answer it.
answer that because, as you say,
The
You
conundrum.
want Paralympians to
pretzel.
compete against
I would
Olympics.
imagine not.
It
to be
always
honest,
twists back
You
on
are a
itself.
total.
but
It
maybe
always
that's the
does.
point.
This is too funny.
The point is you never
That's
play
very.
sport, have
That's
you?
very.
Have you ever played
see,
sport?
Ablephobic.
Hang on, hang on.
That is.
Get him, Riley. He is able-phobic.
Time out.
sport.
I want to ask James one simple
Are you
question.
don't know
saying
anything
people
about
who
sport.
are
James, have
disabled
you ever played
don't
sport at
deserve
all?
a chance
No,
to
of course I haven't
He's
played
never
sport.
played sport
Do I look
in
like
his
a person
life.
that's into
What he
sport?
wants
No.
is Paralympians taking on
No, I
Olympians.
don't want that. I
Honestly,
want
he wants a
everyone to be
gender-neutral
safe. I
Olympics.
want everyone to
Honestly,
be happy. I
none-
want everyone
none
to
of-
be treated with
James,
dignity and respect.
none of this.
Actually, you don't. You
we
want
would-
unfairness and inequality to
We
rage
would-
Absolutely.
and ruin
How
women's
dare
sport
you tell me what to
irrevocably.
think? You just had to go.
How dare you?
How have you?
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
I understand physiology and sport.
Well, good for you.
You don't.
Good for you, but you don't understand
Here's-
loving
here's
a
the thing,
human
here's the
being.
thing. We wouldn't
Loving a
be
human-
having all of this
I understand it
conversation.
enough. I've got 3 sons and a daughter, and they don't play sport
then where's
together
the dignity?
in a fair way.
Where's the dignity and
We
respect
wouldn't
on
be
this
All
having-
right, wait. Let's move on.
All right, I'm going to end it here because I just wanted to talk about the Dylan Mulvaney, Leah Thomas situation. And this panel did not disappoint. That leftist liberal meltdown did not disappoint. Folks, that's what we call comedy gold. And I love Riley Gaines so much as a person, as a woman, as an athlete, but especially on this panel when she questioned James's whole perspective and threw it back on him and said, so wait a minute, should we get rid of the Paralympics then? Since it's only going to be based on what your body can do? And his response, that's a great question. I'll get back to you. James, poor James. James is a perfect example of how flawed this ideology is and how sad that generation is, the Gen Z generation, which rejects science completely and wants you to also reject science and wants you to jump on the crazy train with them and reject what we know biology to be. The fact that he would sit there and say that a woman who is taller has an advantage over a shorter woman. Well, here's the thing. In most sports, what you'll see is people with similar body types are competing in the same sport, right? So if you look at volleyball, right? Indoor volleyball or even outdoor volleyball, you're going to see women who normally are of the 5'8" range as far as their height and taller, because that type of sport is more rewarding for a taller person to play versus a shorter person to play, which is why it's very rare that you'll see a short woman on an Olympic volleyball team. It's going to be rare. Right? Most of them are going to be tall, same as basketball. If you look at track and field, most of the sprinters are going to be shorter than the high jumpers, who tend to be taller. The physique of somebody who's a hammer thrower in track and field is going to have a different physique than somebody who is a distance runner. Like, body types do matter, but in most cases, you're going to see people with similar body types competing within a sport because their body type supports, because their body type is more closely aligned with the sport as far as what they can do. Look at gymnasts. Most gymnasts are going to be under 5 feet tall. In fact, a gymnast over 5'4" is considered a giant in the sport of gymnastics. So for this kid, which is what he is, to sit here and try to make a point about body types and if somebody's taller, then they have an advantage, so should they be excluded from the sport, is just asinine. It's just a stupid, uneducated argument. And listen, you're always going to have the exception to that rule, right? Like, look at Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps was a beast in the pool. He had the ability to hold his breath a lot longer than anybody else. He had a much greater lung capacity than anybody else, than the other men, which is why he was so easily the best swimmer of his time and has not been topped since. Now, he competed against men. So, should he have been disqualified for just having a better structure of a body for swimming than his competitors? No. He was able to capitalize on that, but he was still competing against other men. So the level playing field was a level playing field. Within each category, you're going to have people who are just better. It's called sports. But when you take biological men with a certain body type and have them compete against biological women, that's called unfair. It's not transphobic. It's not discrimination. It's not hate. It's called biology. Wow. What a panel. That definitely was very entertaining, frustrating, but also entertaining. So James, on behalf of my channel and my subscribers, thank you. Thank you for being the fool that we all knew you were going to be. You did not disappoint. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this segment. Whose side were you on? Did James make your mind explode like he made mine? Let me know. If you enjoy my content, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit my notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video. Until next time, peace.